What up, everybody? Some big news came yesterday from 50 Cent that he now has the rights to the movie Paid in Full and that he's going to turn it into a TV series. And Cameron, who played Rico in the original movie, is also going to be involved in this project as one of the show's producers. And Cameron also posted to IG confirming his involvement in the series, saying they've been talking about this for a few months and it's almost time, while he also thanked 50 for the opportunity. This is definitely a TV series that I'm excited about because Paid in Full, the movie, is one of my top 3 to 5 movies of all time. And I often sit back and think about how the 90s and early 2000s had all the good gangster movies. And they really don't make stories like that too much these days, other than maybe the Power franchise, Snowfall, and BMF. 50's post that announced this new TV series also said if you like The Godfather of Harlem, you're gonna love this. Keeping in mind that Paid in Full is also based out of Harlem and based on the real lives of AZ Faison Jr., who was portrayed as Ace in the movie, Richie Porter, who was portrayed as Money Making Mitch in the movie, and Alpo Martinez, who was portrayed as Rico in the movie. And something funny is that I've been covering the BMF series since I started this channel. And over the last few years, I've had people in my comments saying that 50 should have did a series based on the movie Paid in Full instead of the BMF organization. And now it's finally in the works. But isn't it ironic after what's expected to be the final season of the BMF series, how 50's moved on to a new story that fast? The Post didn't say what network the show is going to air on, either though it did promote 50's network, 50 Cent Action. So it might be the first original program to air on that channel, or maybe since 50 just got the rights to the show, he's still shopping it around to networks. Other than 50's own network, we also know that 50 has a relationship with the Stars network that airs Power and BMF, and also Fox, as 50 has a new show coming out with Fox later this month that he's hosting called 50 Ways to Catch a Killer. 50 also has another show coming out with Stars expected to drop in 2026 called Fightland. So, because of his history with Stars through Power, BMF, and Fightland, we might see this Paid in Full series on Stars. But with that said, the way 50 and Stars have been bumping heads over the years, and specifically how Stars has been playing with the release dates of the Power shows, 50 might not want to take this show to Stars. The movie Paid in Full takes place around the year 1986, and the movie covers a timeline of about a year. The main character, Ace, played by Wood Harris, starts out the movie not even in the game, working at a dry cleaners for a guy named Mr. Pip. Even though Ace wasn't in the game at the start of the show, he had a lot of connections who were in the game. His older sister's boyfriend, Calvin, was in the game, and his friend Mitch was also in the game. And while Ace was working at the dry cleaners, he was watching firsthand how people like Calvin and Mitch, who were involved in the drug game, were balling out. Mitch was also the brother of Ace's girl, Keisha. So the drug game was real close to Ace, with his sister dating a D-boy and his girl's brother also being a D-boy. Not to mention both Calvin and Mitch were always in Ace's ear, letting him know how he could be getting real money selling drugs instead of sweating working at the cleaners. But around this time, Ace met a connect named Lulu who sold coke, when heroin was still the main drug at the time. And at that time, Mitch wasn't even messing with coke, but Calvin was. And soon after Ace met Lulu, both Mitch and Calvin went to prison. And at that point, Ace started hustling in the same spot Calvin used to, with Lulu as his supplier. Not long after this, Ace quit his job at the cleaners and started coming up fast in the game, while Mitch and Calvin were both locked up. But while Mitch was locked up and Ace was becoming the top dog in the game working for Lulu, word started to spread in the joint what was taking place in the streets, and that Mitch was going to be the first person put on working with Ace once he got out. Then one day, Mitch got into a fight, and Rico jumped in and killed the man who Mitch was fighting as a brawl broke out in the prison. And after this, Rico and Mitch stayed connected with plans to make moves together once they got out the joint. But just as everything was running smooth for Ace, one day he met up with Lulu at his apartment and found him dead. So because of that, Ace went to talk to Lulu's boss at the restaurant that he hung out at, because Lulu had brought him there before. And Ace brought Lulu's boss 200 bands and also some of the diamonds that he found in Lulu's apartment in order to convince Lulu's boss to do business with him. And at this point, Ace went to another level in the game when Disconnect started him off with 10 keys. And even though Ace gave Lulu's boss some of the diamonds, he also kept some for himself as a backup plan. After that took place, Rico got out of prison and introduced himself to Ace. And soon after that, Mitch also got out of prison. And when Mitch got out of jail, Ace gifted him with a candy red Beamer. So soon after Rico and Mitch got out of jail, they hooked up with Ace and the three started getting money together. But then, as Ace was at the top of the game running Harlem, Calvin then got out of prison and he wanted Ace to put him on like he did with Mitch and Rico. So Ace hooked Calvin up with a corner, but had someone else run it for him because Ace said Calvin was too hot. And that arrangement worked temporarily, but Calvin wanted to run his own block. And the next time he stepped to Ace to talk to him about it, Rico jumped in and started talking shit to Calvin when Calvin fell back but promised to see Ace later. And while Ace had things going on with Calvin, Mitch had problems of his own with his uncle Ice, who was a drug addict, living off Mitch's mom and getting high around Mitch's little brother Sonny. Then soon after this, in one night, everything changed for Ace. What started out as a night hanging out with Rico and Mitch ended in tragedy. Ace went to his stash house only for Calvin and one of his partners to be waiting for him, trying to rob Ace, and ended up shooting him, leaving him for dead, and also killing everybody else who was in the stash house with him at the time. But the same night Ace got shot, Keisha gave birth to Ace's daughter. At this point, he got out the game. Because of that, things dried up on the streets, and Rico also killed Calvin for what he did to Ace. And while Ace was still in the hospital recovering, and right after he agreed to introduce Mitch to his connect once he got better, Mitch then got a phone call from his mother who had a ransom note for Mitch's younger brother Sonny and was demanding $500,000. But Mitch only had 120 bands on him, so he immediately called Ace trying to get a hookup with his connect ASAP so he could get his brother back. They even sent Mitch Sonny's finger in an envelope to send him a message. At this point, Ace got 22 keys, 14 he gave to Mitch to get Sonny, and 8 he kept for himself to pay the connect back. But that night, Mitch went to meet up with Rico for help moving the 14 keys, and when he let Rico know there was 14 keys in the bag, Rico killed Mitch and took the drugs. But Ace knew that Mitch was supposed to have been meeting up with Rico that night. And when he caught Rico in a lie, he sent him to make a job for him, knowing that the two guys that he was sending Rico to make the job for was feds, as they had approached Ace a few times before, talking about doing business with him. So Rico ultimately ended up getting arrested for selling product to those feds, and Rico was looking at 25 to life, so he ended up snitching on some cats from DC, but wouldn't snitch on anybody in Harlem because he said when he comes home, he's still gonna be the king. And in addition to Rico killing Mitch, Mitch's younger brother, Sonny, was also killed because the ransom demands weren't met. And it was revealed that Ice, Sonny and Mitch's uncle, was behind it, but it was his boy Tommy who actually pulled the trigger and killed Sonny. And the movie concluded showing Ace's new life away from the drug gang, now in the music industry, because the bag of diamonds he got from Lulu ended up being a down payment on his new life. So that's a quick summary of the movie Paid in Full. And like I said, it's based off a true story. And with a TV show based on the same story, they'll be able to flesh out the story a lot more than the movie did. And there you have it. Leave your thoughts, theories, and predictions in the comments.